All right, I think we can start. Welcome to using Drupal with Ansible, or Ansible, however you're supposed to pronounce that. And my name is Janne Cederberg, working part-time for the MEB, which is the Matriculation Examination Board of Finland, which for the Finnish people is more commonly known as Ylioppilastutkintolautakunta. And
Yeah, I'm Juho Viitasalo, and I helped Janne with the Drupal side of the project and a little bit other stuff also, server configuration, and that's one side of this presentation also. As Janne is also has a teacher background, he's a math teacher and IT teacher, and I'm also math and IT and philosophy teacher, but we both started to work as entrepreneurs, and now we have done part-time work for MEB. Yeah.
So if you skip to the, jump to the next slide. Juho, would you jump to the next slide?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so the topic was, or is, using Ansible, which is a deployment or configuration management system. And our question for the beginning for you is, have you used a configuration management system like Puppet or Chef or Salt or Ansible or something else?
So
please, with a raise of hands.
How many has used Puppet? Puppeteers? Yeah, okay, a few. Chef? Okay, and Ansible? Oh, nice,
okay,
quite many. Okay, and Salt? Okay. Cool. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay.
Out of those who had used Ansible, had you used Puppet or Chef before? Do you want to comment on the differences or your experiences? Any other comments? Mm-hmm.
So the comment was that configuration is easier with Ansible. Well, compared to what? To Puppet, okay.
And learning curve was bigger in Puppet than Chef.
Okay, so
Also Salt.
yeah. Okay, I don't know if are we recording this? Should I repeat the questions to the mic to get the answers? So the answer was that the learning curve was not so steep with Ansible than with Puppet, right? Okay.
Also the fact that Ansible does not the master slave architecture makes everything easier, faster than any of the other.
Yeah, because it's not an agent-driven like Puppet and Chef require an agent on the target machine that you want to configure, but Ansible doesn't. Yeah.
So how many are you are totally new to configuration management and you don't know what we are talking about? Everybody knows? Okay.
At least one.
Okay, good. Now we know something about our audience. Nice.
Yeah. So maybe move forward. You won't see it very well unless you have very sharp falcon eyes, but it's running a provisioning there right now for the system that we will then show you at the end. It starts with an upgraded Ubuntu 12 system, headless, or I mean just a command line version, and runs using Vagrant, and then we'll show what it does in the end.
Okay.
So maybe if you followed the news, the high school final examination is moving digital starting 2016, and everything should be digital in 2019. And this is from the Lukiolaisten Liitto, the Union of High School Students website, and a news item relating to this event. But there's a lot more new stuff if you Google it. If you skip forward, next one. And so in Facebook, there's a group where a lot of teachers are participating for relating to ICT use in education. And there was an idea a year ago, like, why don't we have a way of collaborating on ideas of what kind of questions could be asked on an electronic exam? and what new possibilities are presented due to the fact that we can use audio, we can use video, and do interactive things. So this was version 1 of an idea bank of like these kinds of examples we could, or test questions we could have. And it was just a Google Drive document. And so now what we've been working on is version 2 of this idea bank. So if you move forward, this is a few snapshots of what it looks like, though it's not live yet. And if you move forward, a view of an item, very short dummy item, but you can move forward. So moving right along, because this is mostly about Ansible, so not taking too much time with the other stuff. A little bit about the architecture. So I started working on this last year, end of last year, and looked at ways of creating items, like having a browser tool to create test questions or exam questions. And one option was to create an editor of your own, but then I decided to use a Luxembourg-based open source tool called Tau, which is actually a lot more than just for creating questions. It's a whole test management orchestration thing, but I didn't need all of it. I just needed part of it. And I'm going to just make that one go a step forward so it gets our things done for the end. And so then there's two things. There's Drupal is handling meta information, tags, comments, ratings, things like that. And then Tau is doing the exam or the task creation. And there's two interconnected parts. There's a session handling thing with a custom Drupal module and a custom Tau extension. They use the word extension, but it's the same thing as a module. And then there's an exercise idea content type, which then interacts with the Tau task creation part. And QTI is an XML-based standard, stands for question and test interoperability. That's a side point from this talk's point of view, though. But then when you go from one developer to more developers, you have a problem of it works for me, but no, it doesn't work for me. And so basically synchronizing your development environments. So that's what we used Ansible for, to get our things settled in the way that both could work productively. If you move forward, the first version was a bash script that I wrote.
So it started when we started to cooperate.
Yeah.
Janne had his own system, and it worked. And then I had to get my development box, and
and we were working 400 kilometers apart. So sharing virtual disk images was kind of impractical, and so we wanted some other way of doing that. So the first version was a bash script, which had its good sides, but it was far from perfect. It did check some requirements and stuff, like you have to have these and these and these installed, and just doing bash trickery and a lot of sed.
Yeah, you can see it was quite long already. So there's the sublime. This is the file. Quite many lines already.
Yeah. A lot of crazy sed stuff, for example. If you used command line sed, you know what I'm talking about. Can you move forward? Sorry?
Yeah, okay. So my side was that when Janne asked me to help with the project, I started to use the script, started to install the stuff, and there's some problems with the PHP configuration side, and I had problems to get the Tau working correctly. And I had before done some stuff with Ansible. I had built this kind of dev test workflow and also deployment scripts with Ansible. I just started it. I haven't finished it yet, but it's just I felt it was good, and also used Vagrant with that, and so I suggested that we could use that as a basis. So I took the basic server setup scripts I have done, and we built on that, and so it was natural to like it was fragmenting. Our work was fragmented. There was this script. We had few Git repos, and then there was this Drupal installing and everything. There's different elements that we had to combine, and I felt that Ansible could tie all them together nicely, and we could have only one one tool that would manage all the code for that. So this is the Ansible website, ansible.com, and here's the
So partly the same diagram as previously, but with some different components highlighted.
So that Ansible was like now taking handle on every aspect of this setup. So it configured Linux, added some stuff, packages,
security stuff,
hardening the server for the production,
setting SSH keys, and making sure you can only log in with the key, and all kinds of things like this.
Yeah, and then there's of course this basic LAMP stack there, and then on top of that we used Ansible to install Drupal, and we used for example, site install command to install the site and stuff like that. And then we used features and strong arm to do the configuration for the IDE API. So it enabled modules, and we included there the exercise idea, content type, and stuff like that. And when there was problems that features didn't and StrongArm didn't do it well, so something didn't work, we couldn't get the configuration transferred with features or StrongArm. We used use Ansible to call trust vset or eval to run, set some variables or run some functions, Drupal functions, to get the configuration automated. So we didn't need to do anything by hand after the install. And
also, some changes need to be made to the tile system, and it doesn't have such a hook system like Drupal to override things. So basically, just change some stuff, but to keep track of what you changed and how. And when we did it with Ansible, we got a documentation of how we did that. Of course, we could have put the whole tile system into a Git repository. But this sort of grew out of how we got the server stuff working, and then we continued working with that. But Tau creates a lot of run specific, like once you install it and you run it, it creates a lot of stuff that you shouldn't really put in a repository, and then we felt it was sort of easier to use it with Ansible and have Ansible configure the customization in Tau, in the Tau source files, both CSS, some CSS, JS, and also some PHP changes.
And then the basic thing was that I converted shell script to an Ansible script, and that was the first thing I did, and got it to work. And then we had the same kind of server setup. We didn't have the problem anymore with the configuration. And then Ansible also downloaded pulled the repos from Bitbucket and managed that. And then also we tied up this kind of idea of this working after they made the install. There was some ideas how to do it forward and deploy the changes, for example, to test site or to production from the development box. So let's see about the roses. What we felt good about Ansible. So it's all the fragmenting we had going on, and integrate well with Vagrant. And there was
one thing I'm going to say about Vagrant. If you're using Vagrant, who of you had problems with the shared folders? Like if you used VirtualBox and Vagrant and shared folders, it's really slow. Some people, yeah. Searching online for solutions for that. Some people suggest using NFS, Network File System, but I didn't like it. I didn't get it to work well. What we wanted to do is have different permissions on the host environment a different owner of the file on the host environment and on the actual guest environment that was running Vagrant, and getting that to work on NFS just didn't work. So then after fighting with it for a few days out of frustration and or with a lot of frustration, then I realized, and then we also, Juho had thought about the same.
But I didn't say it. I
Yeah.
regret I didn't say that. I had an idea, but I
Using SSHFS. Who's used some Fuse file system? There's some crazy stuff like Gmail FS and S3, like Amazon S3 FS, and then there's SSH FS, for example. So we started using that and wrote a little mount script for that that would mount and dismount the volumes. Once you spin up a Vagrant box, then you just run a command and it mounts desired folders into whatever folder you want, and it worked really well.
And also, I started to use that because I tried the Vagrant rsync, which is quite new feature on that, but I didn't felt it was so good that as the SSHFS. So I could recommend also that. Because the one, of course, obvious thing is that we like the Ansible syntax. It's a YAML. It uses YAML files for everything, and it's like. If you think about Drupal 8, it will have the YAML stuff. So if you want to learn YAML syntax, you can get the advantage from like the combination of Ansible and, for example, Drupal 8. It uses the same YAML file syntax. And here's, for example, we use this kind of structure, that the opinionated structure that Ansible recommends. So we had this kind of folder structure of roles. It means that you can have different roles for the server. For example, this server is a web server, and this is the it's this kind of like this is a database server. But I use it like this. For example, if I want to install Drush, I have one folder for installing Drush, and just putting that there, it will take the scripts from the folder and run it, and put the Drush on the server. And there's.
So each role can have one or multiple YAML files configuring what you want to run once that role gets run.
Yeah, and this syntax it's really nice. And there's one, you can see there's a name tag on all the tasks are there. It will print when it runs. It will print a nice name. It can be anything, and it's
you see
really
them
good.
here.
When you read the file, it's
Sharp
like documentation. It tells what it's doing, and you can write in the like plain English or in whatever language. But when you read it, and if you give it to somebody that doesn't know so much about configuration management or even configuring stuff or server side, you can almost understand it. It's like really nice to read. Okay, the documentation is quite nice. I think it could be better, but it's quite easy to contribute on the Ansible project if you can use GitHub and fork and push back, make the pull request. Then you can easily contribute to the documentation and even the code. It's Python code,
yeah.
And that makes also it's very good that it's agentless. So because Python is installed almost on every Linux distribution, so you don't have to install anything on the server. You just, from your own machine, you can just send the commands through SSH. Ansible uses SSH for sending the commands to the server, and it just configures the server. You don't have to install any like server-side software.
As long as you have SSHD running on the machine and you're able to connect to it with SSH, then you can, and you have Python installed.
Yeah. So it's really good for the target server. It stays clean and there's no problem. So
to clarify a little, so the Ansible configuration files are written in YAML, but then if you want to write an Ansible extension or a module or plugin, whatever they're called, then you write it in Python.
Yeah. And I've also tried to contribute some Python code there, and they were really positive, and it feels really nice to contribute to the project if you are interested. And then what else? I think we can. There's a lot of good sides. Is there any tweaks? I don't know. There's of course, learning the new thing is always hard, but it's quite easy. I think Ansible felt really nice, but doing something basic that you could do easily with just SSHing to the server and, for example, copying some folder to some other place or stuff, and then you try to do the same thing with Ansible and you think, how I should do this. You can always write a command and just write a shell command to the server, and you don't have to care about it, or just do it like an SSH command. But it's not the Ansible way. It's better to use the Ansible modules to do this kind of basic things, so you can get the idempotency. Do you know what idempotency means? I don't know if I know it like really well, but I have understood it that when you have like some kind of configuration and you do some operations on that, the idempotency means that you can always do the same. If there's some changes, it doesn't matter. You can always run the same process on the configuration all over again, and if there's no changes, it won't do anything. So it just keeps the same state. So the basic idea is that if you have a badly written this kind of, for example, using some shell commands,
or using sed and running it multiple times will be probably horrible.
Yeah, and it will like
changes
will add up. It will always change it. It will don't have this kind of basic state. So using the Ansible modules correctly, it will ensure that you will have this kind of idempotent configuration that it will. You can always run the configuration on top of. If you change something little in the configuration scripts, you can just run the whole thing on the server, and it's okay. So one problem with this was that basic server configuration went well. But, for example, Drupal and DAO installing was a little bit tricky because to make it idempotent, because when you install it, it will make a database and everything and build stuff. So we ended up just to tear down, take away the Drupal and DAO folders and database, empty them, and then run it again. And it was a little bit slow.
But then we made that a little faster by making our test vagrant boxes have all the basic stuff that we didn't change, like Apache and PHP, MySQL, all the basic stack, and then we would tear Drupal and DAO out and run it again.
Yeah, and
so we make it faster.
Also built a caching system. It's, if you know, have anybody used Omega 8 CC service? Okay, but I haven't either. But I know the idea. They have this kind of idea of platforms, that they have Drupal platform. You can think about. I haven't used TrustMake either. Maybe in some we could have used that in here. But the idea is that you have the basic Drupal modules all listed, and it's installed as a platform that you can build on. And now I had this kind of platform cache that every modules we needed were already installed, put in the database, and no other configuration on top of that. And I cached it, put the files in one folder and the database dumped there. And then when we run the script and we had done some changes, it took the basic platform from the cache, and it was much more faster like that. So
instead of downloading all Drupal modules that the project needs from Drupal.org, it would not do that, but it would get them from the cache if the cache had not been cleared. But then we had a command line prompt that asked, do you want to clear the cache or not?
Yeah. But that kind of things we tried to make it a little bit faster. It was nice because when you do development and you do something over the, for example, install modules, configure the Drupal to see if this solution works, and then you want to clean up after you have done it. And something, I don't want that, okay, I have to clean it up. And then you uninstall module, you cannot be sure that something is left in the database if it's not so well written and stuff. So it's easy, just run it again, Ansible script, and it will be clean. No traces at all left behind. What else? Yeah, the shared folders you mentioned. So I think the most difficult part at first was to find the right way to do things, and I think we could improve a lot in that respect. And also I'm not sure but this was the first time we really did something like this big with that. So it's a lot of things could be probably done different. So if you have any ideas, if you got some ideas that you listen to, you could get some input when we start the Q&A. We would really be happy to hear your ideas about this. Okay.
Now we should show, but it's not finished yet. So, and this was supposed to be on the projector, but I didn't get it to get the projector connection. Well, can you show it from your machine?
What the site?
Just like the development, your development box.
I think so. I haven't. It's not on. I think. Let's see.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Q&A. You can start to communicate.
Maybe you can specify a little bit what exactly that's doing there, and
Yeah.
how long does it take?
To run it from, first of all, now I put it running all the way from the start. So basically it has an Ubuntu 12.04, a long-term service release, and then it installs Apache, installs PHP, FPM, it installs MySQL, it configures them. It says, or actually even before that, can you go back to the roles listing?
Whoops, right. It was so. Where's the, I will.
So it creates users. It sets SSH keys that can, of course, for local development you wouldn't need that, but then it does the same. It works the same way for production. Yeah.
And now you're connected to the VLAN here.
Yeah, it's running locally.
Mika, what this?
The one, the code listing.
This one.
Not that one, but the Ansible code listing.
Here.
That one. So it's, first of all, it's doing a sudo apt-get update and sudo apt-get upgrade. Then it's doing SSH configuration stuff. Hardening stuff, yeah. And shell configuration. Things, setting some aliases for the remote shell, installing Apache, installing PHP 5 FPM, configuring them to work with each other, using templates. You can use, if you're familiar with Jinja templates, you can create files that you can just dump verbatim to the remote server. But also, if you have some stuff that you want most of the stuff, but then you want to switch some variables in there, like, for example, passwords or configuration things, then you can use a template, and then you can provide the template with variables, and then you can dump the result.
Tell about the vault.
Yeah. So also, if you want to handle, of course, for any system, you will have passwords. And if you want to have your stuff in a version control system, let's say you want to have it even in a public version control system, then you don't want to maybe share your passwords. Of course, you can leave your password stuff out, but there's also, Ansible provides this concept called vault. So in a vault, you can store AES-256 encrypted content variables, which can be your API keys for whatever remote systems that you're using. Let's say you provide a Facebook login for your service, and you have an API key for your Facebook login. You can put that in the vault. And all kinds of other database passwords, whatever password you can put in the vault. And the vault has a password that Ansible asks from you when you run Ansible. Or you can then have the vault password be in a file that you have somewhere on a local system, which is not in the repository.
So you can keep the vault in version control?
Yes, it's AES-256 encrypted. I mean, if NSA has something to break that, then sure, they can read it. But yes.
Do you have any samples?
Yes, I do. I can show at the end. It's unfortunately you have to come close to watch in the end, but yeah. Any other questions?
If you want to add another user, for instance, to your development environment, how would you go about that?
I would add them to the Git repository, give them read permission at least, and then I would tell them to clone the Ansible repository, and then I would tell them to run the script, and then they're done.
But would they also need their own user account on the Ansible instance?
No. They would need to know the password for the vault, but anything else they don't need. They can clone the Ansible repository, and then once you run that one, we created a little script that will ask you whether you want to run it for the dev environment or the test environment or the production, and you just answer it's just a bash script. You just run that one, and then it'll install all the stuff for you. You have to have Vagrant installed, but after that you run it, and it'll pull stuff from other repositories that it needs and install the whole thing for you, and then you'll have it done, which hopefully would be kind of soon.
I'm sorry, I'm goofing around. I don't know what I'm doing. Sorry. Although that's not private certificate. I hope everybody's trying to remember that. No. Where's my mouse? Oh, here.
10 minutes. Okay. I tested this thing yesterday, and it took me 30 minutes to run the whole thing.
Sorry, I think
from all the way from scratch. Leaving out the Apache PHP stuff takes less time, and the one of the really slow parts is doing L10N update, the Drupal module that pulls language translation files from Drupal.org. That takes a long time, and what I didn't do, but I should have, was to skip that. But now I forgot to skip it, and now it's doing that.
One point is that I don't know about Chef and Puppet, but one problem with Ansible is that when it sends an SSH command to the target server, and it takes a long time, the Ansible won't give any feedback during that time. It just stays there, and you don't know if it's freezed or anything, and you just have to wait. And if it goes through, it's good. But for example, that language update, it takes so long that you are like thinking that maybe it's broken or something.
Yeah.
So do you have any experience from Puppet and Chef how it works like that? Does it give feedback what is happening on server during the command?
But still, you can still use the asynchronous modules to muscle these tasks if other tasks down the line are not dependent on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like asynchronous, so you can.
So you can just call it fire and forget.
Okay.
In Puppet.
In Ansible.
Huh? In
Ansible.
Ansible. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, you can. There is two modes of asynchronous task. One is has polling, and the other one is fire and forget. It just so basically if you.
It's like a UDP packet. It just sends and.
If
Yeah.
you set the polling period to 0, it just won't poll.
Okay.
So just fires and forget, and this thing just runs in the background. So if
Okay.
you don't have any other tasks in your plate that are dependent on this one actually finishing,
Yeah.
you just run it, and at some point it will finish, and you can continue to do other things.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
but also, of course, with Drupal installation, it can be problematic to do it like that because if dependencies can be a problem.
Yeah, but it could be done for, let's say you install Apache and you install PHP and you install MySQL, you could install them separately of each other.
Great,
Yeah.
great information.
Question here.
Yeah.
Do you have tests in Ansible? I think Puppet has a test for every module, for example, that you can do that. Well, let's say you.
Like whether it succeeded or not?
Yeah. For example, if you install Apache and PHP 5, then you can create a test and actually test that works.
Ansible, you want to comment on that?
The basic idea is that Ansible just outputs if it's okay. It means that nothing changed, and then something changed. It's like the basic idea. But I don't know if there's integrated test framework that you can really test that it works the way you are anticipating. I'm not sure. I don't know.
But if it doesn't complain and you use the Ansible modules instead of using a command line command like CP or sed or whatever, then if it says okay, then it, at least for us, if it has said okay or if it has said changed, anyway, if it doesn't give an error, then it has always worked. So
worked if it's configured right.
yeah, of course. If we didn't make a mistake in the configuration, of course, yes. But the Ansible part worked.
I've seen some basic testing stuff with Travis CI on GitHub for Ansible roles, so they just check that the role actually runs when you.
Okay, Travis
CI.
CI. Okay.
Yeah, it's used by GitHub, right? You can run the Travis, use the Travis CIs to run tests in GitHub.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How generic are your roles for installing Drupal, for example? Is it like, can you install many different kinds of Drupal sites with the same role, or very specific to that?
We have there's a list of Drupal files, Drupal modules.
Now we're not at that.
Okay.
So I will show you here. So it's like, for example, oh, it's opening here. This is our. I had this idea of edge. It's like not the platform. It's like edge of the platform. Everything that's on edge.
The things that are in progress and
in progress.
changing.
Then there's the what I would disable. Drupal download modules, what you download, what you enable here, and then there's like some libraries, and so I haven't used truss make files, and I know that you can do same kind of things and even install patches and stuff with truss make files. But as we went along, this felt a really natural way to do it because we had only one tool to make everything. So I don't know if this is the best way to do it, but we did it like this. And these arrays are used in the Ansible tasks and run in a loop. For example, we just call the truss. We used command module to do truss command and truss, and use the enable command in a loop just to enable everything. And this is the platform stuff, so it will be cached and you can develop it. You don't every time you want to clean the dev environment, you don't have to install all them. It takes a while when you do it. So that's why the caching.
Yeah.
I've been working on something similar. It's only working on Drupal 8 right now.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have this published or something?
It's currently not. It's in a private repository, but maybe we'll publish it.
And
yeah. At least parts that would be maybe useful for people. Not everything is useful because it's quite specific to our task, but some parts.
And I'm planning to publish in GitHub when I have time. I've been really busy. So anything else?
Now
out of time?
Our run is actually completed. It said 174 times OK, 149 times changed, unreachable 0, and failed 0. So now we should have a virtual machine running, which, let's see. So now it's I just for usability I mapped in a hosts file in the host environment's host file some IP address mappings to the vagrant boxes to be able to address the vagrant box saying ideabi.test or ideabi.dev or ideabi.fi for the production. So now if it went correctly, so now we have the working site with empty content or no content whatsoever. And then we could log into it and it has one test a user account.
So that site was totally built without any handmade configuration changes. It's just
So
the
while you were
database is built by Ansible.
starting from a base Ubuntu 12, everything on top of that was built now while you were listening. And so now I have the interface for editing content or editing the ideas that you saw in a screenshot a moment ago, and now the part for integrating the TAO interface into the Drupal node creation interface is right here. That's coming from TAO, but if you're not tech savvy, you won't ever know the difference. So TAO is sort of like if Drupal is in the front end, TAO is in the back end or behind Drupal, and there's a little window in Drupal sort of, and you can see through the TAO stuff from behind.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. if you have any comments, questions, if you want to see more closely,
Yeah.
feel free, come and ask.
I can show some code if you want to see something.
But this, you're opening the browser on your computer,
Yeah.
but connecting to the
Connected to the Vagrant box, yes.
yeah.
So there's a Vagrant box running behind, which you can actually see here. If I open the visual, if I open the Oracle VirtualBox Manager,
Yeah.
then you can visually see the normal VirtualBox interface, which it's a little, I have too much stuff open right now, but
But IDB.test connects to that server.
yes,
Yeah.
it connects. I just have on the host, I have in the etc host file, I just have an IP address mapping that points to the Vagrant IP address, which is private to this machine. It's not anywhere else. But so that's where that's the one running, and I also have another one called dev, which is I'm testing stuff relating to SSL certificates in the dev currently, and but then with the same provisioning script, we can also run it to the production site. So now this is all the stuff that it did while you guys were listening, and but then to run the provisioning, and that's actually what I ran to begin. I ran destroy test, Vagrant op test, and then the provisioning script. But then if I run the provisioning by itself, what it does is it just asks which one do you want to provision, and then you answer, or then you exit, and then it will start running that stuff.
And if you choose IDB.fi,
Yeah, then you actually run to the remote server, which is on Linode.
yeah, and
But
you both could do that from
yeah,
your own.
yeah. So this is let's see, shift
Will
F.
anything be remaining on the remote, like IDB.fi, like content-wise or anything, or will everything be cleared out before you run the next one?
What do you mean?
If you have some data there that you wouldn't like to destroy.
Now that we went into production and there's actually content there, now we don't destroy it anymore. Yeah.
So you just put on top.
Yeah, we use features to get Drupal stuff in after we actually went to production and have content in there.
Yeah.
So, but this is what I was going to show, the provisioning script. So it has actually, to get rid of the Vault password prompt, it has a file that contains the Vault password in plain text, which is not in a repository. And then we need to move. Is that okay? I'll give this to.